Another day, another story. England and Wales had their warmest February on record this year, the Met Office said on Friday. The average temperature for England was 7.5 C, with an average of 6.9 C in Wales. The UK as a whole saw its second warmest recorded February. Welcome to Tabo Eminent Channel. Farmers say they are losing crops to floods while less frost hurts the growth of trees like apples and pears. The provisional statistics are in line with long-term projections of warmer, wetter winters due to climate change. Average temperatures for the UK as a whole in February was 6.3 C. That's still below February 1998's figure of 6.8 C. But in a clear indicator of the recent impact of climate change, 4 of the UK's 10 warmest Februaries since 1884 have all come in the last 6 years, 2024, 2023, 2022 and 2019. A really simple guide to climate change, 2023 was UK's second warmest year on record. Heavy rain brings flooding to east of England. The Met Office collects weather data every day. Before February was even over, that showed that parts of South Wales, the Midlands and Lincolnshire have seen more than 2.5 times their normal February rainfall. The National Farmers Union, NFU, says some farms in Lincolnshire are still underwater, and have been since October. It's rained so many days on the trot that it's just built levels up more, and we're already at quite a saturated level, said Met Office meteorologist Annie Shuttleworth. It comes at the end of what has been a wet winter season overall, she said. After December and January we'd already had 90% of the winter rainfall. You'd normally expect to be close to 65% by the end of January. Provisional Met Office figures show it's been the 8th wettest winter on record for the UK overall. Some of that rain has come from named storms. There have been 6 named storms this winter, generated by a powerful jet stream, the flow of winds high in the atmosphere. Many of the storms have been directed across the south of the UK, so central and southern parts have been particularly wet. Lack of frost. It has also been a mild winter overall, with the lowest temperatures coming in the middle of January. This winter has been notable for not having too many cold spells, says Met Office climate scientist Dr. Mark McCarthy. That's apparent in the number of days of frost we've had this winter. It might come out to be one of the least frosty winters in our historical records. And this fits with long-term trends. In the last 50 or 60 years the world's climate has warmed by 1 C. If we're talking about frosts, says Dr. McCarthy, that 1 C of warming is equivalent to about 3 weeks fewer frosts over the course of the year. Cumbria and Edinburgh now see the same number of frosts in an average year as Sussex and Kent did 50 years ago. Fewer frosts might sound like a good thing, less scraping ice off the car, for instance, but for some plants it's not such good news, and it could even have an impact on the food we eat. Joe Richom is the head of the kitchen garden at Kew Gardens in West London. He says frost is an essential part of the growth cycle of apple trees, particularly with traditional varieties, which need more of what we call chill hours in the year where it's between 0 and 6 degrees. If they don't get enough, they can produce less fruit buds, which later in the year will lead to less fruit, or perhaps even no fruit at all. British-grown apples aren't likely to leave our supermarket shelves completely. Some of the most commonly sold breeds like Gala and Jazz have been bred to need fewer chill hours. But some traditional British types are at risk of eventually disappearing from orchards. Will we ever see a cold winter again? Even as the climate warms overall, there will still be extremes of warm and cold weather. As Dr. Mark McCarthy puts it, one common analogy is that the weather is what you choose to wear that day, and the climate is what's in your wardrobe. In other words, we'll still pull cold weather out of the wardrobe sometimes, but there are more warm weather clothes to choose from overall. In fact, one of the defining features of our weather this winter has been its dramatic transitions from cold to unseasonably warm conditions. Northern Scotland had both the UK's highest and lowest temperatures this winter, all within the space of just 11 days, with a minimum of 14 C and a high of 19.9 C. Annie Shuttleworth adds, On average, you're going to experience more warmer winters and more wetter winters, but you won't not see any cold weather. You need to prepare for both extremes. It's just more likely going to be warmer and wetter than cold and dry. At Kew Gardens, they're working hard to prepare for future wet and warm winters. Tom Freeth is the head of plant records. I've performed a complete assessment on all of our big old plants, all of our woody plants, says Tom Freeth, the head of plant records. We know which ones are vulnerable in certain scenarios and which ones we've got that might be resilient. Heatwave chronicles a February surprise. In the not-so-distant future, climate change has taken an unexpected turn, bringing about an unseasonably warm February in England and Wales. The story follows a group of diverse characters as they navigate the challenges and surprises that come with this unprecedented weather event. The climate scientist, Dr. Emma Carter, a renowned climate scientist, finds herself in the spotlight as she predicted such anomalies but is now faced with the task of explaining the unexpected intensity of the heatwave. As media frenzy ensues, she races against time to understand the underlying causes and implications for the future. The farmers struggle. John and Sarah Thompson, a couple running a traditional farm in the English countryside, face the challenges of crops blooming prematurely. The warm temperatures disrupt the natural order of planting and harvesting, forcing them to adapt their farming practices on the fly. The tight-knit community rallies together to support one another in the face of this agricultural uncertainty. A love story unfolds. Against the backdrop of the warmest February, a young couple, Alex and Emily, find themselves drawn together in unexpected ways. The traditional winter landscapes transform into romantic settings, and as they navigate the heatwave, their relationship blossoms amidst ice cream dates, impromptu beach trips, and shared laughter under the unusually warm winter sun. Environmental activism surges. Inspired by the extreme weather event, a group of passionate environmental activists led by Mark Johnson seizes the moment to raise awareness about climate change. They organize protests and engage in discussions to push for urgent action. The warm February becomes a turning point, awakening a sense of responsibility in the community to address environmental issues. Government response. The government, caught off guard by the warmest February, grapples with the need for emergency measures and policy adjustments. The Energy Minister, Olivia Clark, faces the challenge of balancing immediate public concerns with long-term climate strategies, leading to tough decisions and debates in the political arena. As the characters' lives intertwine, Heatwave Chronicles explores the personal, social, and political ramifications of a warming world, offering a compelling narrative that combines drama, romance, and the urgency of addressing climate change. Thanks for watching. Request you to subscribe the channel.